Show. I'm your host, as always, Dr. Andy Johnson. Today we're looking at comprehension basics. Just a little bit of a review here. So, comprehension is creating meaning with print. That is the same definition as reading, isn't it? You are creating meaning. You're not just responding to text. You're not a rat in a Skinner box responding to letter clues. And it's an active process, meaning you can't be comprehended at. You have to consciously engage at some level. Comprehension involves thinking, cognition, and to improve comprehension, you improve thinking. Very simple. We teach the cognitive process to develop the skill. And these are all cognitive processes that research has shown effective and efficient readers use. Not effective readers, but skilled readers use. Cognitive process, thinking processes, cognitive operation. We break the cognitive operation into steps. That's what we do with any high-level skill, and we teach the skill. These are high-level processes, and we can't assume students know how to do these or can do them automatically. But we teach the process to develop the skill so that they will do it automatically by breaking these cognitive processes down into steps using direct and explicit and systematic and cumulative instruction to teach. And again, automaticity is the goal, so you don't have to think about it. And as I've said many times before, efficient readers approach narrative text differently from expository text. Narrative text is to read and enjoy. Expository text is to understand. If you're reading Harry Potter the same way you're reading my books, something's wrong with you. So effective teachers design different types of activities for narrative and expository text. For example, Rachel came home from an afternoon of classes at Minnesota State University. She was studying to be an elementary education teacher. Her ex-boyfriend, Bluffy, the clown, was a clown who performed magic at children's birthday parties. Bluffy was very angry when she broke up with him. Bluffy had just gotten out of anger management class and was hiding in her closet. When Rachel walked in the kitchen, she noticed her meat knife was missing. She was still thinking about Dr. Johnson's fabulous comprehension lecture when she walked to the closet to put her coat away. What do you think will happen when Rachel opens the closet? Okay, I've given a story preview or a chapter preview, and that prediction, they're reading for purposeful intent. So they have a purpose. What do you think will happen when Rachel opens the closet? We are going to look for clues. We don't want students just to guess. So they're reading, and as they find the clues, they list them here on this predictograph along with the page number. This is a graphic organizer to organize thinking. When they have clues, they make a prediction based on clues. And again, the purpose is not to be able to do a predictograph, but to do this so it occurs, this prediction process occurs automatically. It's used to organize thinking. It's a scaffold. It's a key to teaching thinking of any kind, these graphic organizers. So we teach the cognitive processes. These are done pre, during, and post-reading activities. And again, do them as pre-reading activities so that students are able to read with purposeful intent, just like I demonstrated. A graphic organizer, that's that visual display. And they're used in all sorts of ways to organize content, idea, concepts, events, but they are especially useful in teaching cognitive processes, which comprehension is. Now, if I'm teaching this in class, we do this together in large group several times. With younger students, you do it more times. With older students, you need to do it fewer times in large group, but you know. Eventually, they'll work with a partner or small group creating these things, these predictor graphs, and eventually you can have students do these individually. These make great things for a learning log. They can put it right there. All right, some things about emergent level comprehension. Three strategies. Now, at the emergent level, we tend to focus on sentence or paragraph ideas. We do it differently. One strategy is a sentence mix-up, and these are sentences related to the story. These can be pre or post reading activities. So this involves metacognition. Does it make sense? Father has a cough, has cough, father a. It's simply a sentence mix-up where they are comprehending at the sentence level. Adopt and adapt. The same with a paragraph mix-up. 3 to 5 sentences. They're reading with purposeful intent. Boys and girls, we're going to read this story, and at the end, we are going to look at these 3 paragraphs. They're all mixed up. So I'm going to have you put them in order at the end of the story. So not only do you have kind of a pre-reading activity, but they're reading with purposeful intent. They know they have to put them in order when they're done. Post-reading maze, these are all sentences related to the story. You can go through them as a pre-reading activity, but as a post-reading, Molly blank to climb. And you can have 3 words or 2 words. With first graders in kindergarten, I like to use 2 words. Simple. Most comprehension activities are pre, post, or pre-during post. In the old days, you just give a comprehension sheet after they read the story, and that's goofy. That does nothing to develop cognitive processes. Is a pre-reading activity. Again, they're reading with purposeful intent. I need to find this out. These activities can be adopted for all levels, and the graphic organizer is key to teaching thinking. 5 other strategies at all levels: pre-post confirmation, a series of declarative statements, and at least one is not true or did not take place. You read through them as a pre-reading activity and say, boys and girls, one of these is not true. The number of statements, of course, is dependent on the level of students. Abigail Adams, and they did this as a pre-post, and afterwards they could come and correct their confirmations. Story grammar, that's for narrative text. You tell them 2 or 3 of the categories, and you leave 1 or 2 events open and say, we are going to read this story to find out what happens, and they fill in the events part, partially completed. Story grammar. These are all modified story grammar charts that can be used with emergent levels. Here I have the characters, and I'm just looking for 2 events. This is modified characters, and they have to check the events that occurred. Adopt and adapt. Close effect, and this is always difficult to teach, and here's a simple way. A cause says is what makes things happen. The effect is what happened. As a pre-reading activity, you say, boys and girls, in this story, Bob stands up on a bus. We're going to read to see what happens. What is the effect of that? Space aliens grabbed Bob. We're going to read to see what is the effect. What happens next? So this is a cause-effect chart. The reading for purposeful intent. Some people like to have the page number at the end. Then, after I've done cause looking for effect, we have effect looking for cause. Effect is what happens. Boys and girls, in this story, these things happen. You do that as a pre-reading activity. We're going to read to see if we can find out what made Bob get slammed to the floor. They read, and during they can fill this out and the page number. And then eventually you can do cause and effect. These are common academic standards, common cognitive processes, story grammar, and we've done that before. Predicting. This is a common academic standard. And again, to demonstrate that students can do this, you simply have them do the predictograph and put that in their folder to document that they can predict. Predicting is different from guessing. Now here I have broken down the cognitive process predicting into steps. These are the steps. Step 1, look at the question. Step 2, look for clues to answer the question. And step 3, make a guess based on clues. I demonstrate that, we do it together, and then we do this in large group, and eventually they can do it by themselves. And you can't assume they've got it after just one exposure. You have to do this many times in pairs and small groups, and then individually you can use that graphic organizer again to document that academic standard. And again, predicting is a common academic standard. You don't need no stinking comprehension worksheets. You got predictograph to teach, predictograph to monitor or document progress, and then predictograph for students to demonstrate their progress. Same thing with an inference. Ideas not explicitly stated. You're not guessing. It's a guess or a speculation based on clues. Here are the steps. We teach those explicitly. There is our graphic organizer. You give them the inference. You give them the inference up front, and they are looking for clues, and they make the inference. What kind of person was Professor Marvel? Or Professor, and then they're looking for clues, and here is the inference. Character trait is a similar type, and again, they're reading for purposeful intent. We have characters, and they're going to rate them on some trait, brave, smart, magical. As they're reading, they are looking for clues for that. And then compare and contrast. This is done quite a bit. Look at the two entities. Here's the steps. Look for similarities, identify differences, identify comparison as a pre and a post. They're reading for purposeful intent. Boys and girls, we are going to compare Harry Potter with Luke Skywalker. As they're reading, they look for similarities and differences. Supporting detail, introduce a declarative statement related to some aspect of the story. Again, they're reading with purposeful intent. Billy Marvel should have stayed home. They're looking for supporting details as they read. The goal is to teach the process to develop the skill. It's not important that they can fill in a cause-effect chart or a predictogram or an inferogram, but they will automatically engage in the cognitive processes as they read. 6 big ideas. Do not correct oral reading. I know there's a tendency to jump in, but students need to develop the ability to see if what they read makes sense. 4th grade and up, the focus is on information books. You need to teach study skill strategies, which is different than from comprehension skills. We teach students to read textbooks differently from storybooks. Study skill strategies are not used for narrative texts. For comprehension activities, like I just said, you want to teach this using texts that are at students' independent level or below. That means they can read 97% of the words accurately. So it's a comprehending activity, not a word recognition activity. So you want to find books that you address comprehension different from word identification and fluency. Comprehension worksheets do little to help students comprehend. and you must separate comprehension work from word recognition.